You have to give me permission to record as well.
Yes. How do I do that? Can you send a request maybe or? Oh, yes. I think I allowed you. Ready?
Oops,
Okay.
that's good.
All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of What's So Great About Branding. And this is basically the third episode where Bratin and I, Gurjinder Singh, sit down and we talk about some of the best branding case study projects out there that we could find on the internet. And we're basically going to do a sit down discussion, bouncing around ideas of what worked really well, what we loved about this, what we learned from these case studies, and what techniques we could emulate in our own projects. I'll introduce myself first. My name is Gurjinder, and I run a design studio here based in New York City called Gesso, and that's gesso.one. That's the URL. I work with early stage startups that are going to market and they're preparing for that big launch. And I help with the branding and the positioning strategy for those types of clients. And I'll give you the floor, Bratin. Go ahead.
Super awesome. Thanks for having me. Super excited. So I'm Bratin Das. I'm the founder of AMEG, which is a Bangalore-based design solution studio. And we do brand strategy and end-to-end brand development for tech and consumer brands. I love Indian brands. So if an Indian brand owner is watching this and you need any design help, links in description, all the links in description. And yeah, let's get started. We have some fun brands today, fun rebrandings mainly, and
Yeah.
it'll be a great conversation.
I'm looking forward to today's conversation. And we got a big surprise at the end because we're going to do something just a little bit different. And we are actually going to go over a branding guidelines document. And this is a PDF of over 100 pages long.
Mhm.
And this is going to be a nice little kind of a cool little segment that we're adding
Mhm.
to this podcast just to cap off today's. But I'll reveal to you first the three branding case studies that we're going to look at. We're going to look at Nokia. We're going to look at Burberry. And remind me of the third one,
We're going to look at LG as well.
LG. And these are, I think, mostly 2023 projects.
Right.
And this is going to be a bit of a flashback, even if you call like 1 year old a flashback. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start sharing the screen and Bratin, we're going to begin with Nokia. Why don't you take the lead on this one for a second?
Sure. So as we can see that after years and years of things being difficult for them, Nokia is now Nokia has completely rebranded and it's a completely different vision. Vision that there's one issue. I don't think my face is visible when I'm talking on this screen.
Yeah, I see both of our faces.
On your recording
Yeah, I do. I have
and
multi-speaker view on.
the screen as well.
Yes. Yes, it
Oh,
should be recording.
oh, got it.
I
Got
think
it.
we'll be good. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Nokia now, as we can see, has completely. So Nokia, as we can see now, has completely rebranded after years of giving us that specific blue, that specific text, super compact typography. They have now gone completely dynamic, completely fluid in a way. Let's see.
Right. Here you can see the transformation.
Mhm. It's a completely
Yeah,
different transformation. They're going for gradients.
that's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
That robot frog, you will see that in many other marketing materials as well.
Correct.
So the importance of Nokia for us growing up was huge. It was one of those brands that we all knew about. We used to use the technology, the phones, and then, for lack of a better phrase, they messed it up. And now we're here because, of course, they have a huge B2B side as well that they are focusing on right now, as we can see with technology innovations. And that's why this rebrand is more so an announcement to the public, to the world, that we're still here and we're doing good work. Because I don't think in the B2B side, their reputation would have been scarred or anything. They'll still have it. Right. The rebrand sets Nokia apart as a technology company doing business to business rather than constructing consumer products. Although a rebrand of this type generally feels like it's for the consumer public, but it's not. Makes sense.
Right. Right.
It was done by Lepincott.
I believe so. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can open up their case study page, which doesn't
Mhm.
exist, funny enough. But yeah, back to this. So this rebrand, like I remember this iconic Nokia logo from the past.
Mhm.
You would associate this with like the toughest phones out there. Like
Absolutely.
it was as tough as a brick. Um, and I remember all those YouTube videos of just people comparing like the iPhone and, Samsung phones to the in like drop test videos to the durability
Mhm.
of a Nokia. And
Right.
Nokia was as tough as a brick always. And so you associate the logo that they had with that. You associate that feeling of durability and trust and just kind of a high quality product in itself. Maybe it
Mhm.
was lacking a lot of those features that we have now unlocked with smartphones. But still in its era, in its prime, Nokia was an incredible phone and an incredible consumer product device. But this new logo is a sign of change that they are now headed into the B2B technology space versus the consumer electronics space. That's an interesting exit and an interesting way to kind of evolve the brand, right?
Mhm. And I have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
I think the previous logo suited more towards the B2B side. The new one feels like they're going completely consumer, and then you read through
Oh,
it and
yeah.
it's like, oh no, it's not. So
That's such an interesting
what's your
thought.
thought?
I agree. That's a really interesting thought. Like, I think the date is obviously a part of this, that this Nokia, this original era of Nokia was about 20 years in the past, and this is how corporate identities used to look like, whether or not they were consumer oriented. But in the modern day and modern age, the this brand new Nokia logo feels like this is the cutting edge of innovation of consumer electronics, but is actually a B2B product. Um, and I don't think this is any way a positive or a negative. I think it's just kind of a statement of fact now that they
Mhm.
exist. And their niche and the type of product and the type of business that they're doing has probably changed because they had to adapt in order to continue existing because they cannot compete with the smartphone environment that is there today, the ecosystems that exist with Apple, with Samsung, and Android. It is very difficult to compete with that. So they have chosen a new sector in B2B technology and being an innovation leader in that.
Mhm.
And this is just a way for them to show that we are headed in a new direction and we are going in a completely, different pathway than you knew us. That I think the whole world was synonymous of Nokia, what they were involved in consumer electronics, and now they're not known for that anymore. Um, and it is a bit of a pill to swallow that they actually look more like a consumer electronics brand right now than they did 20 years ago.
Right. What do you think of the word mark itself?
Um, I I like it a lot. I love how the N kind of loses
Mhm.
that vertical line, which is sort
I
of
mean,
continued in the I over here.
right.
And then you sort of have um it's like it's using this sort of negative space and this missing quality that, like, this is kind of like a highly techno font.
True.
So I think they've custom built this, and I think I think there's kind of an exceptional quality to this. Like I will remember this logo. That's the kind of quality this has. And awfully enough, this is reminding me a lot of the new Kia rebrand, right? The new Kia electric kind of logo. And they have some similarities, wouldn't you say?
Right. Makes sense. For me, I was thinking that for any other company in the world, this wouldn't have been approved. You can't just take the K and make it illegible. But in this context, I also believe that this entirety of the rebranding was generally
Yeah.
for just, creation of a perception that, hey, we haven't died, we're still here. And from the B2B side, you need a lot of internal team confidence as well. You have to make Nokia an attractive place for people to come and work, right? From a corporate point of view, that's super important. So I believe it's majorly for that. Otherwise, it's not that legible. Again, we know Nokia. That's why it doesn't matter. It's more, the thing is, negative space designs like this are pretty common in graphic design, but doing it to a logo, again, bold step, of course. And that's what they've written. This is a bold step in Nokia's journey, for sure. I
Right.
guess.
And I think you're hitting a really cool point here is that okay, there's negative space and the logo is essentially illegible if you were to consider it like a sentence in a word. It
Mhm.
it is not that. It is in a different way. It is a logo. It is a word mark. So uh, that's like a kind of a golden question, isn't it? Are we supposed to be able to read the logo correct, like clearly? Or is it okay that the logo can be a little bit more abstract and have, you know, that extra that extra layer of mystery? And
Mhm.
that is something I think we're seeing here. And like you said as well, Bratin, is they have the advantage that people know the name of Nokia, whether or not it has been relevant since 2007 or not.
Mhm.
But Nokia is a household name, and that is a worldwide fact, in my opinion. And just because the form factors are there, the Nokia, you are able to spell it out. Your brain is able to fill in the gaps. And I think that is kind of like a mental exercise that you have to go through when you have to read and understand this logo. And
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
that is working to their advantage. So, in my opinion, I think it works really well. And I
Right.
like where they chose to make things go missing and where they chose to keep things. I
Mhm.
love the fact that the O is just as it was, and it's sort of that connection between the N and the O and the K, and the O being a filled in object, it kind of fills in the gaps of the N and the K. And it this is like really, really intricate stuff that we're analyzing
Mhm.
right now. But this is how I'm looking at it from my eyes. I'm curious how you're looking at it, Bratin.
For a new brand, if you'll think about it, like if you're a designer and you want to make a monoline logos of sorts, not
Yeah,
a monoline, but lined logo of sorts. The N is abstract, super abstract. We know it's Nokia, so we know it. But otherwise, it can feel like a cool A of sorts. You have an
sure.
O. That can feel like a super sharp C. So it can be AOC or something. And that's where we get into, that's where this works. But otherwise, we would have gotten into trouble. I believe the K was super bold. I mean, taking out that stem from the K. But it works. In this context, it works for sure. And that's what they've written as well. This rebrand isn't drawn up by someone who wants a new visual identity for the sake of freshness, or because somebody found a new typeface setting in their fonts folder. It dreamt
Yeah.
up because Nokia was repositioning itself for a better, brighter future and a new market, which is the corporate jargon for we're moving into new markets. We need to be cool again.
Right, absolutely. And I think they capture that cool factor is sort of like an alien-esque font. Um,
They do.
and so overall, I think we've talked a lot about the logo. Let's take a
If
little
we'll go for the
like
materials, yeah,
yeah, deeper look at the other materials too. Like for example,
this one's
this
fine.
one. Yeah.
This one's too. This one's pretty common for other phone brands as well. I would say
Yeah. Oh yeah,
cool
so
photo, text, and logo.
you say phone brands, right? But they're not doing phones anymore.
Right, but they
So,
haven't lost that.
yeah, they haven't lost that kind of at least that perception. I think it's going to be very hard for just us in general as audiences to separate Nokia from phones, consumer electronics, right?
Right.
I give you a question then, Bratin. Do you think they should have maybe completely gone away with the Nokia name just because it has so much heritage, in some cases baggage? And like you said as well, the new logo actually looks even more consumer electronics oriented. Do you think they should have gone away with the name entirely and done a full-fledged rebrand, like with introducing a whole new name, or do you think they have an ability to succeed with what's going on here?
This is, I think, a much better proposition because years and years of credibility, you shouldn't just lose it. Because again, they could have lost, they could have gone down the route of just a new name, a new brand identity, if they would have gone for consumer electronics, but they're not going for it. They're going completely opposite with B2B. And B2B works completely on connections, credibility, trust, long partnerships. So if you are a lead of sales and you say, hey, I'm from Kiano, which was Nokia, by the way, then that's kind of awkward. Instead, just say, hey, I'm from Nokia. And whatever perception people have of them, and you tell them I'm from Nokia, they have a perception that, okay, it's a big established brand at the end of the day, and they'll surely have work to do and great work people, that's for sure. With the graphics, I think if you'll go up a bit with that frog and other design materials, not in this one, there here it's good. I was seeing some of the design materials on other websites as well, if you can find it, where you'll
Right,
see the logo kind of, yeah, this video, for example.
right.
Let's do it full screen. Let's watch it.
Yeah, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so they're hitting a lot of different touch points. They're hitting computer chips, they're hitting the medical space, they're hitting cars.
Mhm.
Um, so they're showing us that in this advertisement that we are farther reaching than just consumer electronics. They're going into more corporate kind of data warehousing. Um, they're going into more industrial zones as well. So you can see that through this advertisement that, okay, they've probably expanded the palette somehow.
Mhm. Makes sense.
Yeah,
And the only thing is the Nokia logo is too abstract that it blends in almost completely,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
In terms of the graphics as well.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I don't think this video was, meant for anything else other than just consumer delight, if you will, from
Yeah,
the perspective of the
yeah.
strategist who did it. It's one of
I
those
th
brand videos that's cool. But
yeah,
yes, if you can see what they're showing, it's Nokia diversifying into technologies of all sorts. So that makes sense.
correct. I don't, one thing I'm missing, I think, is an understanding of if we are calling Nokia a brand, then what is sort of their new mission? What is
Mhm.
sort of the new intent of the brand? What is that sort of narrative that we are supposed to take away from this? Are they just saying that we switched from consumer electronics to B2B? Or
Let's go to the website.
is there some kind of a deeper meaning? Yeah, let's check out the website.
I'm sure it's a complete B2B play now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spacesuit connectivity, Optimus 3.
Interesting. Interesting. So they're showing us
Network
kind of,
solutions, enterprise solutions, wireless
right.
networks. Hmm. So they're fully optimizing all the resources that they had for all these years to get into the
Yeah.
B2B space with network solutions, industrial network solutions, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. They're showing us
Hmm.
all of the industries that they're a part of. Um, a lot of this. One place I want to see is, we are Nokia. Okay, let's see the about us. So at Nokia, we create technology that helps the world act together. Okay, so
Okay.
now we're seeing a little bit of that semblance. And I think that was missing from just the rebrand project itself. Like, I didn't get an understanding of, is there a message that they're trying to say besides just the fact that they're switching verticals?
Mhm.
Um, that's something I was missing. And I guess this is the place to show it, but would it have been it would have been helpful to see it within the rebranding case study as well. And I know we
What
didn't
do you
go
think?
through and read everything, but like I'm just looking based off the visuals and based off of what they are sharing with us.
Mhm.
Is it giving me enough information or is it not?
It has been 155 years in business.
Yeah, incredible. Did not know that.
So no way they're losing their brand equity. 10 plus Nobel Prizes,
Yeah, absolutely.
6,000 plus patents. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's pretty big. What do you think of this usage of this specific blue for the buttons and the logo as well?
Hmm.
Stark blue, which is like the future blue, if you.
Yeah. Um, I think I'm very used to this kind of a blue. It reminds me a lot of the blue that you see on the iPhone. Reminds me a lot of just tech in general loves this kind of blue. I think it works
Mhm.
really well for Nokia though, because of the heritage that they had in the past, right? They had that sort of corporate looking blue, okay, and we can
Mhm.
call it that. But it was of a much darker tone and a lot less saturated. And now
Right.
this new blue is sort of a color that from far away could feel like it can only exist in the digital realm and it would be hard to print a color like this. I'm
Right.
sure they've tested that, uh, but just speaking on kind of how vibrant it is, I think it works to create that sort of um, youthfulness and a
Mhm.
return to the cool factor for Nokia. But I don't know if it's creating enough differentiation in my mind that now like Nokia has really turned the page and they're doing something completely brand new. Like I love the logo. I don't know if the palette is collectively doing that work for me.
Mhm.
So that's what I think about sort of that blue.
Makes
Like
sense.
it's as if I've seen that done many times and it's nothing new or exciting to me. So
Mhm.
that's what I think. Okay.
All right.
Let's let's head to LG Electronics then.
Yeah. Just a second. Yeah, actually, I have another podcast from 8:30. Actually, it's
Okay.
8 right now.
Yeah.
Right. We'll just go fast.
Yes, let's
Is this
do
the
it.
LG one?
This is LG. So this is another Wolf Olins project, which I am not that
Mhm.
familiar with, that LG went through sort of this rebrand, but I think we'll go through it and see it was maybe less of a rebrand and more of just a reactivation of the brand that
Oh.
they already had. Um, okay, so starting off the bat, I'm seeing a very interesting type of photography. So I'm
Mhm.
seeing someone wearing what you could call dated clothing. Gold Star, if I'm not wrong, I've had air conditioners used
Mhm.
in my home in the past that were Gold Star branded. So this might be a private label brand under the LG group of products.
Yeah,
And I'm
LG is
seeing,
LG is actually two brands. So it
okay.
was one brand who was making toothpaste, if I'm not wrong, toothpaste and other
Oh,
chemical
yeah.
products.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was, I think, Gold Star, and so LG is L is for the previous brand. I forget the name, and G is for Gold Star.
I see. I see. I always knew LG as life's good, which I
Mhm.
guess is the tagline that they ran with. I'm seeing the LG red appear kind of in
Mhm.
the TV itself. So reading a little bit of this, bringing a smile back to tech. So LG needed to rejuvenate its brand. It needed to feel more youthful to appeal to a new generation of consumers. And that's interesting. I feel like that's a line that we read about every rebrand nowadays,
Mhm.
especially in the tech space, especially
Right.
a corporation with a lot of heritage and history trying to rebrand in order to capture a younger audience. That's, I think, something that we're seeing a lot. So that's kind of a pattern I'm noticing.
And just
Okay.
in these few years, with innovation in 3D, mm,
Yeah.
innovation in illustrations, and all those things, and designers taking a more bold approach, I think
Yeah.
the delta of, you know, coolness, if you will, for the older brands is just deteriorating super fast. And so this is kind of the motto for a lot of them to rejuvenate
Yeah.
its brand.
Yeah,
Some have caught up,
absolutely.
of course, and some are at the forefront, for example, an Apple or the fashion brands, of course.
Yeah,
Emotionally
absolutely.
intelligent design.
Emotionally intelligent design. Yeah, this is what they're getting into. So, inspired by LG's human approach to innovation, we developed a new brand philosophy, which is what we just talked about. So, it's all
Mhm.
about balancing warmth with intelligence, ensuring that every interaction with the brand would leave people feeling that life's good. So, again, going back to sort of that tagline. I like that we're reading a little bit about the project before we delve into the visual itself, but
Mhm.
let's see what they have. So I'm going to play this video. So I don't know if this is going to be recorded in terms of
Mhm.
the screen itself, but one thing
It
we'll
is
do
being
is put
recorded.
it. Do you think the voice and the sound is being recorded?
No, no sound. Just the video.
Yeah, just the video. So we'll put this page in the description below so you guys can kind of go through and
Oh.
watch it yourself. But I'll just like play like a little bit of it. I don't think we want to sit through the whole one.
Mhm. So they're telling the entirety of the story.
Right, absolutely. Interesting. So bring it back to life is sort of their whole motto with this project. And I'm going to skip the
Mhm.
video and kind of go to the more visual side so we can kind of see everything. Um, I think
Mhm.
they have a few pillars here that they're reaching out with, right? And that's
Absolutely.
where we're kind of walking through that.
These are designed for emotions and the use of 3D for design to adapt to things. The logo is
Correct.
now animated. It can make faces, which is
Correct.
super fun.
I think
Mm.
it's greatly expected of the LG logo that it is a face and kind of a wink face that we're going to see
Mhm.
it animated, and it's taken this long for us to see that sort of
Right.
done really well, I think. Here's all the different emotions that the logo can come to represent. I like this part. I think this introduces this as a dynamic logo, not just kind of a
Mhm.
static image that I think we all have just seen it as a static image because we deal with consumer electronics. And
Right.
the thing with, and not just like smartphones, but just like everyday appliances that we keep in our homes. Um, that this logo is printed statically on that, and those appliances are supposed to live on for years. So it's
Mhm.
a nice touch to see how the logo can be animated and turn into a dynamic logo, and kind of,
Arriving
you
at
know,
this lower decision and this decision of animation and actually doing it must have been so fun from the Wolf Fallen side, right? It just
yeah,
breathes new life into the brand, which is what we wanted.
yeah, absolutely. They're
Again,
introducing
with
an
this heart
interesting
sign.
serif font here, and this sort
Mhm.
of 3D modeling, um, which is something we're going to start seeing. So this sort of
So this
3D.
life's good typeface in itself,
Yeah.
you can think of it as a logo because this typeface is only used for this. Everywhere
Yeah.
else, they have a different typeface. Not even the LG typeface is this. It's just a completely different typeface. So
Yeah.
this can be like a alternate logo for LG,
That's really interesting.
which is generally
It's
taglines have that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not seeing that font appear anywhere else. I would expect it to see, but it's sort of like a badge on its own, and this tagline sort of stands out like it is a logo in itself. That's interesting.
It's one of those anchor points that's evergreen for the brand
Sure.
across generations. So they had to keep
Yeah.
it, and they were like, let's just elevate it to a different level.
Yeah,
These are again
absolutely.
super modern layouts, 3D
Yeah.
characters, lots of big text.
Yeah. I've seen these sort of characters a lot though. The sort of
Mhm.
corporate graphic design, I think a lot of similar sort of character illustrations like this can be bought off of places like Creative Market,
Mhm.
places like Envato Elements. You can buy this sort of thing. And so what I'm not seeing is sort of a true innovation here yet. I
Mhm.
like that these sort of characters are taller in stature. Well, I expect more of the corporate kind of characters to be like sort of like short and stumpy. Interestingly,
Mhm.
they're supposed to be very cutesy. Um, but here I'm seeing them a little more lifelike in terms of like proportions of the human body. But besides that, like I don't know if I see something truly unique and truly something I could grasp on yet. So that's
Mhm.
the only thing. Um, like they have this idea of life's good, of kind of bringing the soul back into technology. I don't know if I'm feeling that just yet. I don't know if you feel the same, Bratin, but like I'm seeing a new kind of vibrant red with this sort of pinkish tone and this sort of lighter, kind of desaturated look, or you could call it transparent or opaque. I think they have consolidated what the brand assets are and what to build equity around. But what I'm not getting is the message coming through. I'm not connecting with it just yet.
Mhm. For me, it's different because
Yeah.
I think it's a great positioning play, firstly, because the majority of market, I mean, this is a hypothesis, so I haven't checked it out, but I think a huge market for sure for LG is the Asian market. And you'll see the graphics, the photography, you'll see it's related to our side of the world more.
Yeah.
And that, of course, makes sense based on the brand's heritage, but also based on the brand appeal and the international appeal of the brand. They're still sticking to this. So I believe it's quite a new, refreshing approach, so to say. Even this graphic that we're stuck at, it's probably a Japanese train station or subway. So I believe it works. LG's this new vision, I think it's refreshing, so to say. That's one, because they've gotten rid of that one red. They're now using a fully dynamic reddish palette, and the logo is again animated, so it's, you can say, cutesy, if you will, and it adapts well to various connotations. You can use it in graphic design, in a graphic design sense. Maybe you can use life's good as kind of a logo, and the actual face can animate in various ways in terms of brand marketing later. So I think there's huge potential with these 3D characters as well, integrating it into various life situations. So overall, I think the number of things that has been tackled here, I think that has been done to a great level. I don't see deficiencies, so to say. Were there
Sure.
places where things can be improved? Not improved is the word. Maybe added, maybe. But I think for now that we're seeing, I think this is really delightful from my perspective.
Yeah. I hear you on this note, especially of so I see this as sort of a Japanese mock-up, and it wasn't until I landed on this mock-up that I started to understand and connect with what you were saying, that this is very focused on the Asian market,
Mhm.
because I think that's where the brand has kind of some of the most heritage, starting there.
Mhm.
So now I see kind of in the character model sort of this anime style, but in a 3D kind of corporate way. So I'm seeing a little
Mhm.
bit of that now that you shared it with me, and you shared your feelings and thoughts. Um, so all in all, like I want to see like how this brand is kind of fleshed out more out in the real world. This is like I think a 2023 rebrand, if I'm not wrong. So I'm excited to see. Maybe I've missed a lot of LG's material on social media, so I'll be on the
Mhm.
lookout to see kind of how they're looking today, in the most kind of present day. So I think that takes us then to Burberry, just in the sake of time. Um,
Right. We barely have time. Let's
So
go.
yeah,
I
so
think
Burberry rebrand.
is this blog good enough?
Yes, I have
Do
two.
you have
I have
another one?
two. Yeah, I have two links. for Burberry. So the first thing I want to show is the evolution. Okay, so
Okay.
1901 was the first logo that they kind of created, and this is, the very hand-drawn-esque. This is
Mhm.
at the core, this is the grassroots logo. When it probably started as a small shop,
Mhm.
and then that lasted almost 100 years. That logo lasted almost
Mhm.
100 years. And by far, this is a very complicated hand-drawn illustration. This is not what we call a logo in the modern sense, but it lasted 100 years.
True.
And so some of the important pieces of equity that we spent an entire century creating equity around was the horse. It was the horse rider, and it was sort of this
Mhm.
jouster aesthetic. And then the Burberry kind of text right underneath it, that was changed in 1999
This was one of
until,
those movements of, the 90s or the 2000s,
yes,
rather say, where you will see Burberry, London, Tom Ford, London, right?
yes,
So
absolutely.
I love this equestrian night, as they call it, this specific part of the heritage. And as you were about to talk about it, yeah, the 2018 one kind of just yeah, disappointing.
I remember a lot of kind of backlash around it, just because that was kind of a mark of the industry, 2018, 2017, especially, that we were going towards a more simplified approach to all kinds of
Mhm.
logos. And you saw this sort of trend play out in a lot of other fashion
True.
logos. So if we
Right.
just take a look at really quickly, like fashion
Sure.
logos,
Fashion logo
um,
rebrands.
yeah, rebrands, we could say. We'll see an entire list.
I'm
Look
sure,
right there.
yeah, Yves
Right
Saint Laurent
there.
rebranded,
Yeah,
Balmain rebranded. They didn't have to. For example, the Yves Saint Laurent logo is just so iconic.
oh
It's a
yes,
bit sketchy.
absolutely.
It's tight knit. It's fantastic. The Balmain logo
Absolutely.
has had a lot of brand equity. It just
Absolutely.
all looks the same, and I don't know why. I
It
don't know why
does.
they went for it.
It does. And I don't know if it's sort of trying to follow a trend, but one thing is for sure that from far away, the bolder look kind of gravitates your eye more to it. I think it's
Mhm.
an attempt to break through a lot of the noise, which is harder to break through when you have sort of the skinnier font forms. So I think that's
Mhm.
definitely one of the reasons. But getting back to Burberry, from 2018 now to 2023, it's sort of they've returned to form to what they had originally, and they just modernized it a little bit,
Mhm.
right?
All thanks to
Obviously,
Daniel Lee, who's
yes,
their new
that's
creative director, and he has just taken it to a completely old direction, which is the rebranding, if you will, or
that's true.
de-branding, as people are calling it. So yeah, I think it was super important. They had to get the night back. Without this, the
Correct.
Burberry logo just feels stale. And they had written
Correct.
Burberry London, England, which is again, it's okay. We got
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah. And I like that so much of this has is coming from Daniel Lee's vision.
Mm,
And a lot of these projects, we look at these projects as like, agency-wide projects, whole team-wide projects. I don't know who was in Daniel Lee's team or if he truly kind of was very hands-on in this. But it's interesting to see that they are calling him out as the creative director and the vision for this
mm,
new sort of rebrand. And another thing that they've done is introduce this blue, which
mhm.
did not exist before. It was either a
Right.
black and white brand or it was red in this kind of original sequence. So that's something that we see now within the website. So when I kind of hover over this, the blue is in
Mhm.
action, right? A brand new identity. This is what we had before, and this was sort of that iconic monogram pattern that was created back in 2018. Um, and so I want to see like I think this is the Peter Saville's version, but I want to pull out Daniel Lee's version of Burberry, which I think is sort of the new version.
I think in the
So
previous link itself, we'll find it. You go back to the website.
this one,
No, the other one, the
this one.
Burberry website. Yeah.
Okay.
At the bottom, I think there's some links. Yeah, the Burberry collaborates, maybe. Or about Burberry. You can check out about Burberry. we'll find some information to show.
Okay.
Burberry Heritage. Let's do Burberry Heritage.
Yeah.
And boom. The Burberry story, the trench, the check,
Yeah.
gabardine. These are all important things that kind of got lost in the entirety of the rebranding, which is basically a sterilization process.
That's right.
And I believe this is a much more bold and a much bolder, not even a bolder, a much more sensible choice, I would feel.
Yeah,
And this
absolutely.
gives other fashion brands the chance to showcase their personality. Yves Saint Laurent can go back, Balmain, Balenciaga. These are the Chanel. These are come top of the mind who should just go back to their previous form.
Yeah.
And other brands who might have been feeling the pressure, for example, Brunello Cucinelli has a super complicated logo as well. Not as complicated, but a complicated one. So they can just stick to that and keep doing awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe
And
this is just great thing for the entirety of the industry.
another trend that I'm seeing within the fashion industry itself is this sort of breakaway from the traditional black and white logo and font aesthetic. You've seen it with Hermes with the orange. You've seen it with Tiffany with the ice blue.
Mhm.
And now Burberry has chosen this very vibrant blue as kind of the brand color to run with. And
If we'll
it's
go and see
interesting.
some of their products as well, it's the
Yeah,
placement of this logo is actually super, not awkward, but super, you will say random, if you will,
sure.
on some product graphics across the internet. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's see it right here. Yeah. It's kind of like cross printed into it
right.
in a very interesting way. I think that looks beautiful. I would love to have and wear this product because I love how they're unapologetic with how complicated this logo is, yet they still were
Mhm.
able to give it the actual kind of real life feel when kind of stamped onto and patched onto the crossbody bag, and you sort of see that blue now appearing in that very iconic Burberry pattern.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they're bringing the entire new brand equity into
True.
this thing and making something out of it.
And this is where I believe it's great from a fashion brand's perspective because
Yeah,
your core is fashion. So a complicated logo shouldn't be difficult for you
yeah,
because it's the availability is low. It's not that, commercialized. There's people working on it, actual designers doing hand stitches, a lot of things. So
yeah,
they at least shouldn't have an excuse that we have a difficult logo. So we just didn't put it on the actual fashion product. We just put it on the packaging or something.
yeah,
Yeah, the super
absolutely.
cool, super iconic Burberry patch.
That's right. It's interesting that Daniel Lee and team didn't go with this red as the to
Mhm.
become the Burberry brand color. They chose something in blue, which is a very interesting thing. Maybe it was a way to differentiate themselves not only from their own past heritage, and choose like literally red and blue are, opposite colors. And
Mhm.
they're kind of complements of each other. So they went with the blue style, which is an interesting thing to see. I'm excited by the vibrancy just that color has added. And now I can recognize Burberry for this pattern as well as for that vibrant blue color.
Isn't this
So
the Nokia blue, by the way?
it's similar. I would say this is a little more luxurious.
Right.
So it has a little more of a navy tone to it, whilst the
Mhm.
Nokia was looked like a call to action button. So
Right.
and that's
Awesome.
Burberry. And I just want to say it to end this off, like I think I appreciate this serif font as well,
Hmm.
because as we
Sure.
saw, a lot of the fashion brands let go of that past heritage of the serif font to try to act like a modern brand with a sans serif typeface, looking a lot like Helvetica in a lot of those.
Mhm.
But they have gone back and kind of created a custom font for this. And it has a tall structure to it. I love how it's spaced out a little bit, and overall, it's kind of creating a very fresh and ownable aesthetic for Burberry, which is very hard to do, especially in fashion.
Mhm. If we go back to that previous image that we found on Google,
Yeah,
like Let's see.
Up here, you said?
No, all the new fashion brands
Oh, yes,
who
that's
have
right.
rebranded. Yeah. We'll go to this one. As you can see, an Yves Saint Laurent logo just looks completely different from a Balmain, for example. But in the new fashion brand, in the new, you can say the rebranded thing, is just two sans serif typefaces. There's no
Yeah,
brand equity, no personality. It's just Balmain is spaced out a bit more.
yeah,
That's literally all about it. And guess what?
yeah,
It's the same with Berluti, Burberry, Balenciaga, everything.
that's
And
right.
a
They're all
fashion,
capitalized. They're all
right?
spaced
All
out
capital.
letters, all bold.
Two has Paris written on it, and many will have London written on.
That's right.
So the point is, in the fashion category, it's I think the only category: fashion, watches, perfumes. These are categories who don't have to just go with the new technological sterilization of things, if you will,
Yeah,
because they are a fashion brand. It's a real product,
yeah,
and so they can take that step. Yves Saint Laurent can have that logo. And
yeah,
I used to love that previous logo. That's why I have said it 10 times.
yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I
And I
mean,
think,
Valentino has rebranded, Gucci, Jimmy Choo, they have all rebranded.
yeah,
Celine, it's a
yeah.
shame, if you will.
There's always a tasteful way to do the rebrand, and I think Burberry has done that here, and they've
Oh, yeah.
brought a serif typeface, which now if you put them against all these other logos, instantly they
Mhm.
stand out. Instantly
Of course.
they sort of have created a retroactive brand for them
Mhm.
that respects the heritage in the past, but is entirely unique and uh, visible in the modern world, which I think is a very
Mhm.
hard feat to achieve, which I think they have achieved. So I appreciate them for it.
I just hope it just starts the flow of other brands realizing that it's fine to have a complicated logo and
That's
we
right.
can still use it. Let's hope
Agreed.
Burberry is not the last one to go back to their roots.
Agreed. Okay. So
It's awesome.
that was about three of the best case studies this week. Bratin, do we have time for
Oh,
the
in
New York
5 minutes,
subway? Okay.
I'll have to just do
So
everything.
we'll hop back on a call and save that surprise for the very next time we record, which is going to be very soon. But by the time this episode drops, I know we'll have that added in at the end. But thank you all so much for watching. This was Burberry, LG, and Nokia, and celebrating their rebrandings that have been done, just within the past year. Very fresh
Mhm.
ones, and every single one of them had some great positives that we noted down, and we talked about what we learned from these and also what other brands within the industry could learn from them. Any last words from you, Bratin?
This is super fun because these three were rebrands and they all handle their heritage really well, be it
Yeah,
LG, be it Nokia, be it Burberry. And so that's the positive message, so to say, that it's it's fine to stick to your roots, just do it appropriately and do it in a way that is doable, basically sustainable. You're able to make sure the costs aren't too high and it's just applicable and usable. That's about it. Otherwise, you don't have to lose your heritage.
correct.
That's about it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you,
great.
everyone, for watching. And this is episode number 3. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. See you. All right. That
Right.
ain't stopping. It won't break down. Right.
Continue.
The brand appeal for LG in the Asian part of the market specifically is that once you have an LG, life is actually good. So it'll not break down. It'll retain its all the features. Everything will work
Right.
superbly. And
Right.
so when I think of LG, I think of these things. But when
Sure.
it comes to buying certain things, let's say I want to buy a trimmer, I'll go for a Philips. I'll have to buy an
Yeah.
AC, I'll go for a Hitachi or something. And so I think what LG wanted to do with this rebrand specifically is gain top of mind share for all of us. Because now you can associate visuals with LG, which was not that possible previously.
Right.
When you think of LG, you just think of that dark red and just the logo. That's about it. And you think of good
Yeah.
products, but good products are not a story, right? They are not an emotion. An emotion has to be generated. And
Right.
so with this rebrand, I think that was the focus, especially in the Asian market, to elicit that special response of, okay, here's we have been doing it for you guys for a long time, and here's my new look now.
Yeah. I hear you. I think maybe I haven't spent enough time with it. And like you said, this is, again, these sort of advertisements, this sort of campaign has probably been more seen in the Asian markets. For me here, I'm more familiar with Samsung as like
Mm,
the go-to Samsung or Sony as the go-to consumer electronics brands. And for
mm,
me, I associate a lot of my feelings with those products instead. And this might not just be a rebrand thing. This might be more of what products have I used in the past? What products are already
mm,
top of mind? And which ones do I have emotional connections with? And from whatever I saw of LG in that case study and just those visuals, I didn't feel an emotion coming through.
mm,
Unlike I've seen for some other brands that we've reviewed in the past, which like Topo Chico, some of those other ones like SeatGeek, right? Some of them that I just connect really well with. Okay, are
mm.
we done?
Are we done? Yes, we are done.
Okay,
I
okay.
have to go.
All right,
Awesome.
Bratin, thank you so
See you then.
much. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.